Hey everyone, this is Joe. I am the digital astronomer. Usually I don't post two videos in a single week, but this week, because of Mars was on an opposition on October 13th, I decided to go ahead and make a second video this week. And what I want to show you is real quick some capture video that I made of taking images of Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, and then I'm going to show you the finished product and tell you a little bit about what Mars opposition means. Okay, if you've gone out anytime in the evening over the last several weeks and looked to the east, you have noticed this bright orange planet in the sky. I want to say star, but it's not a star, it's a planet. But you've seen this bright red object, and many of you maybe have wondered what it is. Well, that is the planet Mars. Back on October 6th, Mars had its closest approach to Earth this year. It was separated by just 38.6 million miles on October 6th. And then on the 13th, it reached opposition. Now, what opposition means is that Mars, Earth, and the Sun form a straight line with the Earth in the middle. And during opposition, the planet appears bigger, brighter, and redder than usual. Now, the planet won't get this close again to Earth until 2035. So right now is an ideal time to be observing the planet Mars. And so on the 13th, I went out, and I'll just show you really quickly. Here was Mars. Still early in the evening, setting a little low in the sky. I really need to go out later in the night and let it rise a little bit higher. But I did go out here in a few moments. I'll show you and get some pictures of it. But while I was waiting for Mars to get up there a little bit higher, I went over and started looking at Saturn and Jupiter. And I'm going to back this time up just a little bit, because Saturn and Jupiter, you can see just as it starts getting dark, are down here in the southern sky. Not in the best place to image them, but nevertheless, just as a warm-up getting ready for Mars, I took some time and imaged Saturn and Jupiter. And so let me go over, stick around here for just a second. I'm going to show you a little bit of the video of me using fire capture and the settings that I use to get some images. Then we'll go take a look at the images. Okay, it's Mars opposition night, October 13th, 2020. I can see Mars over in my eastern sky. It's still a little bit low on the horizon yet, so I'm going to give it some time to rise before I go and start to try to image. So I'm working on some images of Jupiter right now. As you can see, this is my second 60-second capture. I'm getting about 64 and a half, 65 frames per second. Looks like I'm focused up pretty good, but focus is always tough on planets. But hopefully this is going to work. I'm going to collect a few more on Jupiter. Then I think I'll move over and collect a few captures on Saturn before moving over to Mars. So when I get ready to go over to Mars, I'll come back and we'll take a look at the first capture. Okay, all told, I captured 8 one-minute videos, SER files of Jupiter. Then I went and stacked each one of those in auto stackered. And then what I did was I did just a very small wavelet adjustment in Registax, and then carried them over into WinJupos to derotate them. And I'll show you what I got out of this here real quick. This is just this is the TIFF file that came out of WinJupos. So these are those 8 video files that have been derotated. And then I played around with it a little bit, and this was the final image that I got of Jupiter on that night. I'm not real happy with that picture. It's not too bad. I think that my focus might have been a little bit off, but anyways, I had fun with it. It was sitting kind of low in the sky that evening, and so that makes it kind of hard to capture. Seeing conditions weren't great, so overall, I'm happy with that. You can see here one of the shadows of one of the moons that were going by. So that's Jupiter. Now I'm going to swing over and let's take a look at Saturn. Okay, I've gone ahead and slewed over to um, Saturn and I'm working on it. You'll see I had to raise the gain up a little bit and the exposure. I think I'm going to have to maybe go a little higher than this with the gain so I can drop this exposure time down. That's only giving me 20 frames per second. I've got pretty good seeing conditions tonight, but I don't know if that's going to cut it or not. So I think on the next capture, I'm going to drop that down. I'm going to take that gain up just a little bit more. I hate to do that because of the noise, but I need to get those frames up a little bit. I'm shooting a frame of about 484 by 476. I guess I could drop that size down a little bit if I wanted to, but we'll see what happens. I think on the next one, these are 90-second exposure, so I think what I'll do is go ahead and try to increase the gain a little bit and drop that exposure time. Okay, on this second capture on Saturn, I've dropped the exposure time down to 35 milliseconds. That gets me up to just under 30 frames per second with a gain of 410. I maybe could squeeze a little bit more out than that. I might try it on the next capture, but basically, I'm going to try 4 or 5 more captures on Saturn and we'll see what we get. The big target tonight is Mars, and Mars is still rising up in the sky. Things are improving on it. So, here in a little bit, I'll slew over, and that's going to be the main target. But I'm hoping I'm going to get something decent here on Jupiter and on Saturn. Okay, so you can see here I have 4 capture files for Saturn. These were 2-minute long captures on the planet. I'll just show you one of them real quick so you can get an idea of what that looked like. Um, Here's the very first capture. So you can see I'm a little bit of bouncing around there. There was a little bit of wind that night, and the scene was bouncing up and down. I took each one of these, stacked them in auto stacker, did a little bit of a wavelet adjustment in Registacks, and then derotated all 4 of those videos in WinJupos. This was the compiled video. This was the compiled picture out of WinJupos. And so you can see it's looking okay. Here was the finished picture. I can't say this is the best picture that I've ever gotten of Jupiter. I have one that I think is a little bit, or a Saturn rather, I think is a little bit better. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that. Pretty nice color. You can see the banding here around the planet. Pretty clear pictures here of the divisions, the Cassini division in the rings, the shadow. So overall, pretty happy with that. Again, this is not the best time to be shooting Saturn. It's a little bit low in my night sky, not the best. So I was really happy with that picture. Let's go over, let's get a look at the main event now. Let's go take a look at Mars. Okay, I went ahead and slewed over to Alpharat's star and refocused. I used a batten off the mask to get a little tighter focus, and then I went ahead and slewed over to Mars. And as you can see here, I'm imaging. I've got the gain set at 350, the exposure at a little over 5.5 milliseconds. So I'm getting about 150 frames per second, and I'm collecting 120-second total frames or exposure time, 120 seconds. Um, and so we'll see here in just a couple of seconds. I went ahead, I've already done one um, quick capture, and let me just show it to you here. I went ahead and stacked it in Registacks just to see kind of what it would look like. I accidentally put this in the wrong file, so if you notice that I'm going to the wrong folder system, uh, and it looks kind of funny. Um, Whoops, I needed to go to Mars. And I'll show you real quick. This was just in auto um, stacker, and I think that's going to look pretty good. That took about 7,000 frames, I'm going to say it stacked, somewhere right in there, about 50% of around 14,000 frames. And so I'm going to shoot some more images here. And I think I'm also going to go up to a 3x Barlow a little bit later on and try my luck at that. And hopefully we're going to get some good images of a Mars here on opposition night. So um, keep your fingers crossed. Okay, I went ahead and went over and put the 3x Barlow lens on and went back in and took a little bit of time to kind of get things focused back up. And I'm go ahead and it slowed things down a bit. You can see that I'm only able to shoot 60 frames per second. That's still pretty good. I may play around with those settings a little bit, see if I can go just a little bit faster. I could probably make the cutout a little bit smaller and probably get a little bit more frame rate out of there. I may try that here in a couple of minutes just to see what I get. But overall, tonight's going, I think, pretty smoothly. Hopefully the stacks are going to look pretty good and we'll get some decent images here on Mars Opposition 2020. Okay, I'm going to show you the captures that I did at 5,450 millimeters. That is with a 3x Barlow lens on my Celestron 6 SCT. That's about the highest, that is the highest focal length that I can shoot at. And I'll just show you really quickly what that looked like. What I did was I took the 3 captures and then I went over and combined them in PIP. And this is what the capture looked like. Uh, Kind of notice there, let me make that a little bit larger. You can see the planet is really jumping around a little bit. And this was even using with fire capture, using the tools to kind of keep it centered up. But you can see a lot of rippling, not the best seeing conditions. The planet, quite frankly, was probably a little too low in the sky. I got a little bit lazy. I had to get up early the next morning for work, and so I wanted to get my shooting done. I think I took these pictures right around 9 o'clock. So I'm going to have to go back over the next month or so as Mars gets a little higher in the sky and get a better picture. But I will say this is the best images that I've gotten of Mars so far. This was the image that after I stacked all of the 4 files together, took them into WinJupos and derotated them. And then let me show you the final product here, the final picture. Oops, sorry about that. I kind of ended up going the wrong direction there. All right, let me show you the final picture. All right, this was my final picture of Mars. Um, Not the greatest. I still think the seeing conditions were kind of wreaking havoc. But you can see this is the polar ice cap down here. You can see some of the features there on the surface and identify what they were. If you wanted to take a map of Mars, you could kind of figure out what you're looking at there. But overall, not too bad. I'm going to keep going back to Mars, see if I can't get a better picture. But this is my Mars Opposition 2020 picture. This is probably about as good as it's going to get as far as just sort of the positioning of Mars relative to the Earth. But hopefully, as it moves a little higher in the night sky, I can get a more detailed picture. But anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Stick around. I'm going to show these the images on a little bit larger frames there in just a second. quick reminder, if you enjoyed this video, please help support me by clicking on thumbs up and share. Thank you.